we have in the studio the Member of Parliament for Dafiama BECE constituency, and he's also the Chairman of Parliament Select Committee on Education. Matthias Asoma Poza is Poza.
Yes, thank you.
You have no difficulty at all. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I'm sure by the time we're wrapping up, I'll get to Poza.
Yeah, that's
okay. Now we're talking about the MPP, a group of chairmen. And I just want to have your take on it. I know that you belong to the NDC as well. There was a convocation, and so they decided to spearhead all this agenda and say that the party should organize an early Congress to elect a flag bearer other than the date currently they're thinking about. What do you make of it?
Well, thank you very much to your cherished listeners. Sorry I came in late, anyway. But then I think at times it's better to have it an early Congress.
When you're in opposition?
When you are in opposition, yes. It gives you time to prepare.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a longer time to prepare. So I think there's nothing wrong. But I don't think they should also force issues so fast. If we have a laid down agenda, I think it's only right and fair for us to follow that, because others might say that okay, they were not prepared enough because you jumped the time.
Okay.
Yeah. So
and since you're Parliament Chairman on Education, or the Select Committee on Education of Parliament, are you worried about the current state of teaching and learning in junior high schools?
Yes, surely.
You are?
Just as every Ghanaian.
Really?
Every Ghanaian.
You don't show it?
Why? we do. Just recently we came from.
Well, I'm asking this question because the numbers have been very bad the last couple of years.
They are getting bad every day. Yes, but then.
That's frightening.
Yes, frightening. But I think it is our duty as a people to see education as a very, 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 very important aspect of our life, national life, and education should, just like health and the economy, affects everybody. So we should always look at education from very, 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 and a very objective point of view. There is no reason why we should, for instance, at the moment, the standards are falling. What are the causes? That's what we should be looking at. Just like the economy, we should be looking at it broadly. Why are teachers no more putting up their best?
What's the response? No, I have you as my guest, so I think I'm at liberty to ask you questions.
Yeah, you are.
And especially because of the position you hold.
Yes, there are several factors, you know. There are several factors. And normally, professionals put poor supervision as number one, poor teaching and learning material as two, you know, and a lot of other social factors that really prevent the teacher from putting up his best. You see.
What do you make of it?
Thank you, Walter. You see, education from time immemorial has been the tool for development for every country. So countries spend so much of their GDP on education. If you don't believe in education, try ignorance or something. And the future is for the children, and it is through education that the children can have a good future. So at any point in time, a nation state should use a lot of its resources on education. So if you ask why are standards falling, we can hazard a guess. We may not be too sure, but we can hazard a guess that maybe, just maybe, we are not pumping the needed funding into education. And this one, if I say so, I'm looking at all the aspects of education that my senior brother here mentioned. A lack of supervision, basic tools, infrastructure, motivation of teachers and all that. All these things, if you look at them, what will make them work is what? Funding. If there is inadequate funding at every level, this is what we have. Isn't it ironical that we go to a community, the government school is nice, the structure is very nice, but people are taking their children from there to the private school, which is in some dilapidated structure.
Or which has not a too nice structure.
That's it. I mean, in certain cases, very dilapidated structure. Yes, yes. I have several examples in my constituency. Why are parents taking their children from this nice school put up by the state to that school? So you realize that it's not only the infrastructure, it's not only the building that will make education or teaching and learning complete, but there are several other factors. And the second irony of it is that most of the teachers in the private schools are not even trained teachers.
And somehow they tend to teach better.
And their results are better. So there's something fundamentally wrong with our system.
Sir?
So, to continue from there, I have been saying that you can improvise a classroom. Many of us went to school under trees.
You and who?
Many of us. You may not be one, but I am a villager. I went to school under trees. Right. Many of my age, let's say, many of my age really went to school under trees, schools under trees, and we've made it up this far. There are other things like a teacher can improvise a blackboard or chalkboard.
That's those days.
Even today, even a teacher has the ability using cardboards and other things. What I'm trying to say is that you can improvise a lot of things, but you can never improvise a teacher. You can never improvise a teacher. So the teacher, who is the central point in education, has to be up and doing. Or we have to do everything possible to make him like to work. That is it. Okay.
Now, I know you want to respond to it, but just keep that comment, and then you add it to a question I want to ask you, Mr. Poisson. The aspect about teachers not being adequately supervised, has it got any link to do with their training? And is it that perhaps also we have a difficulty with the way the structure of their curricula is?
I don't think it should be the curricula, because these are reviewed quite regularly with time.
So what's the difficulty there?
It could just be today things are quite different. Society has changed so much. People tend to value other things more than honesty. They value other things more than integrity. I mean, the mere fact that I have done this, dedication to your nation and other things, people are no more so dedicated.
What has that got to do with it? You have somebody who's supposed to be supervising teachers.
Yes.
What has that got to do with whether somebody is honest enough to teach or is patriotic enough? The point is somebody has a certain job outline. You're supposed to undertake that. If you don't do that, there's supposed to be some repercussions or some remedial punishment, so to speak.
You must be patriotic to go the extra mile. For instance, teaching, putting in your best at your job. It's not just for the money, but also because you love the job. You like what you are doing. So if you do not have that love, that interest in what you are doing, know that you've already failed.
Yeah, you see,
the comment you wanted to add this one.
Yeah, that's right. He was talking about this, the teacher not being,
not improvising.
But patriotic, not improvising. This is something we talk of in those old days. Days gone by. I mean, in this time and age, ICT, you see, in this what do you call it? Internet, the superhighway to everything in this time and age, where you go to some places, in the smallest village, they are connected, they are hooked to the internet. Go to our communities and find out how many of the schools are connected to the internet.
What has that got to do with teaching and learning?
Good. You see, for the teacher to be very effective, he has to be abreast with time. And if in some other areas, in some other schools within these things that we are told, the failure rate we are talking about, it's more of the public schools than the private schools.
Sure.
That's why I'm doing this comparison. You go to the private schools and they invest in ICT. You understand? Go to the public schools. In my area, they build schools without even extending electricity to the schools. And I am funding electricity connection to the schools, providing some computers, and the teachers come to beg that they just need even
well, you promised them during the campaign,
no,
so that's
I didn't.
normal.
No, I didn't.
But
they just wanted to show the children this is the computer, and then even show them that if the computer is not working, they are okay.
And it works.
Yeah,
it sticks. It makes the students more committed, and the teachers too.
That's right. The teachers are saying that this is what they need to impart knowledge to the people. And what can you see? There's one other thing: the inputs to teach. Maybe when you come to the urban areas.
What do you mean by input? You mean the facilities to teach? The logistics?
The logistics. Maybe in the urban areas we may not notice it, but when you go to the rural areas, where the bulk of these public schools are, the majority of them, that's where they are. When you go and the teacher tells you that even chalk and some things,
other basic allocations
things that they are not coming. You see, these things go a long way to affect teaching and learning. And again, the supervision, he spoke about the supervision. It is true that a good teacher doesn't even need much supervision. But you see, a soldier doesn't walk on an empty stomach. It goes hand in hand, this time and age. And there's competition. The private schools who want to poach these teachers, when they hear that this teacher is good in this school, they want to poach that teacher with good remuneration and conditions of service and all that. So if the teacher, you know, in whatever patriotism in him, will want to teach at the public schools, and he lacks the basic things to teach, it will be easy for that person to be poached easily.
Well, Mr. Poisin, all over the world, in the more developed economies, so to speak, whether it's in the UK or in the United States or elsewhere, in the better developed Oriental countries, the private schools are more expensive.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that the public schools are in shambles.
Yeah.
So is it that we don't have the best policies, and if we have, was the difficulty then in implementing if they are policies or just a policy?
Well, to take us back to the same area like the US or Canada, to be a teacher is one of the most difficult jobs you can find.
You mean Ghana?
No, outside.
It's one of the most difficult jobs
you can get.
Because you deal with people, students?
What I want to say is that you must really prove yourself to be good enough in all aspects before you can become a teacher. Here, we get into teaching as a last resort. It's not a first choice. So,
Sir, is that not an indictment on you yourselves as members of parliament? And for example, you lead a committee that is supposed to be checking some of these difficulties that are being recorded. Is that not an indictment on you?
You see, let me get this point clear. You see, so much, that's a third of the budget, is normally allocated to it.
Well, we hear that all the time.
It is a fact. But how much of it really gets to the provision of infrastructure and teaching materials?
That's why you're in parliament. You're supposed to check that.
That is it. But then what I'm trying to say is that what is given, though so big, is not enough for the salaries. Much of it goes into salaries and other things, but not into provision of
logistics and other teaching
for
aids.
the teaching, because it's not even enough. For instance, at the moment, if you go to the ministries, one of the main problems is how to handle the teachers who have been teaching for some time now without pay. It's not that the ministry wants to punish or GS wants to punish them, but I know very well that it's because there isn't sufficient money to go around. You know that. You see? So these are facts. which we cannot deny.
So these are facts, and we have to contend with them.
We have to find a way.
When there's a great exacerbation of whatever difficulties we're experiencing within a lot more of the undeveloped communities in the country, it's a question I guess we all have to ponder over.
That's right.
Yeah.
It saddens me to hear some of these things. You will not know the magnitude of it until maybe you get maybe a chairman of a committee coming out with this thing. He's frank. I mean, he's being frank with the situation. We are in a dire situation, seriously, because if
from what I know, we've always been in a dire situation.
No, it's getting worse.
It's worsening.
Yeah, it's worsening, and that is my worry. Instead of, for example, the GET fund was to supplement whatever government was providing for education, and almost everywhere the GET fund is in arrears. There's something wrong with our system, because these are the things that will make education improve. That will go a long way to make teachers enjoy the work they do. And with the remuneration, once our population is increasing and there are more children going to school, whether you like it or not, we will have these responsibilities. But how are we prepared to take up these additional responsibilities? That is the problem for all of us to answer. Because seriously speaking, the quantum of money you mentioned, in percentage terms, maybe it may be big, but looking at the spread, when you go to the teachers, it's like they are not seeing anything. There's nothing. You go to you mentioned this single spine thing. They will tell you. I mean, he's even worse off. You understand? So there's something. I think there's something seriously wrong with our system. And then this one, I will want our committee, the education committee, to look into it. Maybe our oversight role to. Maybe we are not playing it well.
As a legislator.
As a legislator, maybe, just maybe, because if you were playing that oversight role effectively, some of these things that my big brother is talking about will be addressed at the
because talking about oversight, that brings to mind the issue about the late allocations that are supposed to be statutory allocations that have been very late in coming. We've had huge deficit over the last couple of quarters, and that's a difficulty. For 3 quarters, we have education departments in this country who have not had the allocations. How are they supposed to work? And you work with rural communities in your constituencies. Usually, when you have some of these reports coming to you, how do you tend to deal with them?
You know, the only way out is to relay such information back to Parliament. With asking questions. There are channels open to us. You ask the education minister questions why this thing is not happening. But you see, most invariably, whenever you ask these questions, the refrain in Parliament now is no money, no money. These things we know, but lack of funds. We are looking for funds. It's in the pipeline and all that. Time is not waiting for everybody in this country. And for me, the danger is the kind of products we are putting out there after that's right. After this exam that we are having, if that failure rate continues, then we are going to put half-baked, or I wouldn't say even half-baked, quarter-baked people in the country who cannot be trained. You see, that's the most difficult thing that we are going to face. This when they leave the JHS and they don't continue, it is difficult to retrain them. And if you have this mass people of untrained or hard to be trained people, then there's a danger ahead of us as a country.
Mr. Poisson, is it a failure of our educational system, or is it a failure of the structure, or is it a failure of the policy supervision?
I don't think it's a failure of the education system. We might not be doing the best.
But you're content?
We are definitely not content.
Right.
Other than that, at the moment they've stepped up supervision. The education, the inspectorate division has been refurbished by giving it material, a lot of logistics.
Is that so?
Yes. And I expect a lot of work to be done And in fact, they are now extending to every district and region every region and district in the country. And I believe that things are going to be, there is going to be a change, because they are being given whatever they want to. Nobody really wants to produce half-baked, or my brother says quarter-baked material. No one wants to. For one thing too, where government has made it possible now for those who fail to make the grade at the BECE to resit. That's something that Ghanaians have cried for all along. Because unlike the SSS...
They resit and go to where?
Resit and go back to secondary, continue with their secondary school education. You know, we are quite aware that just for one day, even something can cause somebody to fail an exam.
You mean mass numbers? Things cause things cause difficulties in students for them to fail in mass numbers.
But
now,
you know,
let me just run these figures by you.
Okay.
Over the last 2 academic periods, at the junior high school level, we've had schools even in the Central and Volta region that have recorded 0% pass marks.
So many.
And on the national average, just in excess of over 50%.
Yeah.
That's a huge challenge. For a certain generation of students means that they're going to have some difficulties in creating whatever future they want to create for themselves.
You see, that's why I'm saying the resit is really meant for those who want to.
Is that a panacea to all the difficulties?
No, of course not. You only look for a drug when you are sick. You get it. So we're
always told that we have to be very preventive.
You can prevent
and so while
it.
you want to be very reactionary, you also need to be proactive.
Yeah, you can prevent. You can adopt a preventive measure, that is trying to institute roles that can really improve on the child, that can force the teacher or motivate the teacher to work harder, and also make education interesting for the child. Some children do not just learn because they don't know why they are even at school. If you care.
That's because the teachers also don't imbibe them with good values at school.
That is it.
Because if you teach students and they don't go back to the house and learn, it means that the Parents-Teacher Association is weak, and then also supervision from the teacher is also bad.
Yeah.
And he's just playing.
Yeah, it takes three, if I can continue from there, it takes several stakeholders to get a child learn. And I think an important factor that we are forgetting, is the role of the family. How many of us are really interested in what happens to the child at school? You and I know, will spend the last days of the evening, hours of the evening, in finding out what the child learned, or even perhaps helping him to do the assignment. And I believe that the results of such a child will be quite different. So what I will ask is that, just as we are all aware that things are getting bad, we as parents should also be show more interest, commitment in whatever is happening, especially at the PTA level and SMC levels. We should get people who are really interested in what is happening.
Well, Mr. Poisson has enumerated everything, and that's what you, the political elite, as well as we, the other stakeholders, the media, etc., we do. We pay lip service.
That's right.
We don't do. We know what the causative factors are. We know what the remedies are, but we just don't just don't do implementation. Exactly. It's the same thing we're doing. They're rating and doing nothing.
Yeah, you see, there are two issues here. One is, as I said from the beginning, is the funding. There's a huge funding gap for a lot of these things. You mentioned that we know all these things, but we are not acting. Why we are not acting is because the funding gap is so huge that we don't even have the logistics to act. That is the bottom line. At the moment, I'm sure every circuit supervisor knows the kind of work he's supposed to do. But is he well equipped to undertake that supervision that he has to do in every district? Every district has these supervisors. Yeah. And you ask the question, how come this trend is continuing? That is, the downward trend is continuing. And I put it squarely at the step of the GES. and the ministry. You see, when we talk about the teacher not being motivated, we mean it. Because look, some teachers will burn the night candle to teach the students if he's well motivated. But if he's not motivated, especially for example, these current batch who are writing, I went to a certain village and a certain teacher was prepared to teach these students, and he was telling me that it's so difficult because they go to farm, they come home in the evening, and in the night there's no light. So these are the things. So there are several such factors. And let me also go to what my senior brother said about the policy of rewriting the examination. For me, it's also one of the things that we are failing to do as a country.
You mean to implement?
No, not to implement. Why do we have to, as you said, go to use the firefighting approach instead of preventing the fires? The same thing happened at the senior high levels. You see, the factors that militate against the smooth running of educational system from the basic to the tertiary. So when you don't get it right at the basic, it runs through to the tertiary. I'm still wondering why a lot of remedial schools are springing up. It's because we are creating the environment for more people to fail, so that these private guys, remedial schools, will also make money.
Well, not necessarily that, because we're just creating a situation where students fail in numbers, and we feel that because we have the avenue for them to rewrite,
so look,
that's the best way to solve the solution.
No,
to solve the difficulty.
It is not the best way. For me, it is not the best way at all. If you get the fundamentals right, there will be less failures. And then. So
from Parliament, what is the thinking?
Yeah, well, I think just to conclude where we are, I think no child will want to go for a second world war, as they term it.
No, when you are taught poorly, you have no option.
No child, but
because
so
you are limited in your knowledge.
So what we should do, the right thing we should do, is to prevent the failure, and preventing the failure means all of us being interested in education, in the welfare of the child. As already said by my
That's begging the question, sir. Yeah. The point is that we have institutions and structures, state departments that are expected to make sure that this is undertaken and they do their work.
Then we should make sure that they do their work.
You're Parliament's Chairman of the Committee on Education.
You know,
how do you ensure that, well, adequately, there's a linkage or coordination between you and also the Ghana Education Service, right down to the various local government departments, is it representatives or chapters? Because we have security supervisors, we have GES regional offices, we have district offices, etc.
If we have time, let me just give you a...
we don't have enough, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, during the recess, our committee went to the north, that is going through Upper West, Upper East and Northern region, and we selected some particular districts at random, really, and then went to these districts, got all the stakeholders together and tried to find out why things were what they were. So with the full participation of the providers, that's the teachers, the education directorate, the security supervisors, and what have you, and the managers of schools, and on one side, and the parents and children on the other side. We sat down and tried to find out what the shortcomings were in the provision of education in that area. Now, we came out with a number of issues, and we had a work plan for the rest of this thing, for the year. This committee will go back to find out what has already happened. So what we need to do as a people is really to make sure that whatever we say, we try to implement it. And my brother, I think that I suspect, I don't believe that might be the panacea to the whole thing, but with the decentralization of education, when it happens, people will be closer to the classroom.
And take more responsibility
and take more responsibility.
That's a hope.
So that's my hope.
How do we get there? What's the strategy to make sure that we don't go and hope in the future?
No. It's coming soon. The implementation, I mean, decentralization.
You remind me of our coach, the Black Star coach. Because
look, it's coming on soon. And I believe, like I said, I believe that there will be a change. Because you'll be more.
The point is that hope is good,
yeah.
And within hope is that you need to have the faith, but within all that you need to have a plan.
You need to have a plan. Look, there's no plan under this on this earth that the Ghana Education Service hasn't got. From the
so they have it in there.
Everything is
so
there.
What's our difficulty?
That's what I'm talking about. We need the logistics, the funding. The government should increase the funding for education. One, and then there's something.
We're in trouble.
That's right. There's something we call M&E, and this thing cuts across every aspect of development in this country, not only in education, monitoring and evaluation. We lack that discipline so much in this country. But before you can do effective monitoring and evaluation, you need a lot of logistics and the human resource to do it. If the human resource is to do the M&E, the monitoring and evaluation, is not well motivated, he will not do it, and the system will suffer. So first of all, the bottom line is what? The economy. If the economy is strong, if there is so much money coming into the system, we can increase the aspect for education. The budget for education can be increased. And if that will increase, then we have to put in place mechanisms where the implementation, the supervision, the monitoring and evaluation will be effective. And then we can take it up from there. Until that time, I am still a pessimist as far as this issue is concerned, because I haven't seen that dedication of government to increase the revenue base for this country, because it is everywhere. Anywhere you go, there is this shortfall in budgetary allocations. Timely release of budgetary allocations. They are not going. You mentioned it much earlier. 3 quarters in arrears. How do you expect the people there to even supervise? The circuit supervisors, if their statutory funds are not going, how are they going to work? How are they going to supervise? So you have teachers who can even abandon classrooms, go and stay somewhere for 1 week, 2 weeks, and the children will suffer. And that is the education system we have here.
Okay, so your wrap-up comment before we go.
So just like you've pointed out, I think that if we all know that the economy is challenged, and that doesn't mean that we should throw up our hands in the air and give up completely.
Well, we shouldn't?
We shouldn't throw up our hands and give up.
We should do more.
We should do more. We should really, we have identified our problem. So this is where I say the dedication comes in. I don't have the money or the logistics, but I can really improvise. I can give a bit more extra, like coming here, for instance. I don't know how far, I live beyond Frafraha.
Okay.
And I left the house at 6. But my point was to be here at all costs, in time. So that extra mile has been made possible because of my determination to really come to this program.
Okay.
So if Ghanaians, on the whole, not necessarily in teaching, in every aspect of our life, we try to make things better, to make things happen, then I think we may be able to
wrap up comments,
Yeah, that's right. In fact, as far as education is concerned, we need a Marshall Plan. We need a Marshall Plan for this country, not the Senche type. We need a Marshall Plan where we mobilize resources to tackle the educational problem. Because that is the future.
When do you
of this
think
country.
we're going to do that?
Oh, it should start from now. It should start from now.
I think it should have started from yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, because it didn't start, so we can always hope for the future.
Thank you, gentlemen. I know that if I give you the whole day, you discuss education, you never finish. The point is that I guess we all have to do some level of immense contribution to make sure that there's overall development in education in this country. And we have had in the studio Matthias Asoma Poisan, who is the chairman of the Select Committee on Education and Member of Parliament for Dafiama Busie Isa constituency, and also in the studio alongside him has been Yao Frimpong Ado, Member of Parliament for Mansu Edubia constituency. He is also a member of the Governance Assurance Committee of Parliament. Is a new one, and we'll have full time to discuss what they are doing currently following the first time they appeared on the show. And thank you, gentlemen. We hope that you continue your good work for Mother Ghana.
Thank you.
Okay, so next we're going to have a discussion with Michael A. Porter. And Michael Porter has a lot of business degrees, I tell you. He's a motivational speaker, but he also has his own metrics on how to develop business models for not only emerging economies like Ghana, but also how to make sure individually we also tend to develop. He's coming to speak to us on not only self-motivation, but how to make sure we create the right entrepreneurship ideas for the job market. And while we wait on him, we also have to inform you, he's been a former player of Bolton Wanderers before, from the late 1970s to the early 1980s. We'll ask him about the Black Stars, though. Do stay on. We'll be right back.